we got the official date that Microsoft intends to close the Activision Blizzard deal. And while we're talking about Activision, how about we talk about the next few years of the Call of Duty franchise? Let's break this all down. Up next. What up, guys? This is Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. So before we get into today's news, I want to shout out my Twitch channel. Of course, when we hit 500 subscribers, we're going to do our first stream. The link to all that is in the video description down below. So let's knock this one out of the way, since this news broke early this morning and it's coming from Tom Warren and The Verge. But hey, Microsoft is eyeing Friday, October 13th. Yup, Friday the 13th to be the closing date where it announces to the world that its near 20-month-long process to purchase Activision Blizzard is finally over. Of course, this is just the date that Microsoft sees fit to close, but this is still pending the final ruling from the CMA, but as it stands right now, knock on wood, it's looking like the CMA will give the green light. No pun intended. And it's worth noting, today is the last day where the CMA can gather up any final opinions from third parties on if they should allow Microsoft to follow through with this deal. Now, in case you're worried about the FTC's involvement in all this, Microsoft can still close over them, seeing how the FTC was not granted a preliminary injunction unlike the CMA. Now, let's chat a bit about one of the franchises that have been in the center of the storm when we're talking about the court battles, and of course, this is Call of Duty. So, the Call of Duty Next event was held earlier this week, and Activision's president, Rob Kostich, discussed the franchise's first 20 years of existence, and where the series might go in the future, and this is all coming from an interview with GamesBeat. Now, fans of this franchise have seen multiple time periods covered within the game, from the days of World War I to the very distant future. Kostich said that Activision has learned from each and every game in the series, and that, quote, right now we have games planned all the way through 27 for things that we're working on. Look, we've learned. I think we've done a lot of games in the future. We probably went as far there as we possibly could. We made some games in the past. You start to see a sweet spot over time in what really resonates with the community. He continued, you see things like Modern Warfare and Black Ops franchises are really popular. We've certainly had other games that have done fairly well. Like the original World War II game from Sledgehammer in 2017, did really well as well. Now, the best bit I found from all of this is when he dove into how weapons from each of these games are the most critical part of the experience overall. I think for us, the weapons are a hugely important part of the Call of Duty game. You also think about what the narrative allows you to do, whatever time period you're in. The challenge is when you go into World War II or even earlier. There's less flexibility when you're trying to maintain somewhat of a realistic tone, which is important to Call of Duty. By the way, our fans strongly define what Call of Duty is and isn't. Once you get into that modern era, you have a lot more flexibility. You get into the future a little bit, there's even more flexibility with what you can do with weapons. The Black Ops era is super interesting because Black Ops is all about the secret stuff no one knows about. There's a lot of applied creativity built into Black Ops, which is always really fun for developers to get after as well. While I haven't spoken much about Call of Duty outside of the Activision Blizzard deal, I used to be deeply ingrained with the old Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops days. This is when I'd spend hours, and I mean hours on end, playing all these great multiplayer games. And since those days, I haven't really found a Call of Duty game that really spoke to me on the levels those games did. With the reemergence of Modern Warfare 2, and now that Modern Warfare 3 is on the horizon, I started giving those games a shot, and I'm certainly impressed. What I'd like to see moving forward, especially if all those leaked documents have any sort of validity to them, I'd love to see Activision take full advantage of this haptic feedback feature that's on this new controller. That adds to that level of immersion he was talking about earlier, and we all know how that intervention in Barrett 50 cal felt in-game, but imagine that with the haptic feedback. That controller might just explode. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this question off to you guys. Where do you see Call of Duty heading to next? Will these games be taking a massive leap forward in time, or will they be going back to the past? But that about does it here. I've been Kalo. I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.